Betrayal can begin with a kiss, but some begin in silence. Today, you will hear the story of a man who believed too much in his faith, in his marriage, and in her. The truth? She had crossed the line a long time ago. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and listen closely, because here, on Echoes of Temptation, the truth always comes out. And when it does, no one walks away unscathed. When I met Rebecca, I was 26 years old. I was working as a bricklayer on a housing project on the south side, living with my mother, and going to the same church I'd attended since I could walk. She appeared one night at a youth service, having moved from a neighboring town. She was beautiful, poised, one of those women you look at and think, she is from God. She spoke softly, sang during worship with her eyes closed as if she had a direct line to heaven. We started talking after the services, always with someone nearby, just like the good book says. No touching, no ulterior motives, just stolen glances and shared dreams. We courted for 2 years and were engaged for 1. I saved every single cent to give her a wedding she deserved. God always came first. I married Rebecca in a packed church. Everyone said we were the couple of the year. Blessed. She told me she was happy. We prayed together, read the Bible on Sunday afternoons, and sometimes we'd cook together. And when money was tight, I'd take any side job I could find: renovations, painting, plumbing. I never let my responsibilities slide. It was only when Rebecca started wanting more clothes, more vanity, more comfort, that things began to unravel. She decided to get a job and found a secretarial position at a dental clinic. At first, it was fine, a little extra money in our budget. But it only took a few months for me to notice that it wasn't just our salary that had changed. She started coming home late, always glued to her phone, always with an excuse about work. There was a different light in her eyes, a new edge to her voice. But I refused to be suspicious, because a real man, a married man, trusts his wife, and I trusted her. Maybe I trusted her too much. Some things you feel long before you understand them. That's how it was with Rebecca. She didn't change overnight. It was subtle. First, she stopped praying with me before we went to sleep. Then, she started eating dinner alone in the living room, saying she was too tired. And me? I pretended it was just a phase, that it was stress from her new job, the daily grind, anything but what my heart was already starting to suspect. She started wearing makeup just to go to the grocery store. She would hide her phone screen whenever I walked into the room. And when I'd ask, the answer was always the same. You're imagining things, Elias. But it wasn't my imagination. The following week, the construction site I was working on shut down for 2 days. They paid us the night before. I had an idea. I'll surprise her. I'll stop by the clinic at the end of her shift and take her out to dinner. A nice gesture. She'd never expect it. I got to the clinic about 10 minutes before closing time and waited across the street. I saw her at the reception desk, laughing. It was a kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in a long time. Standing next to her was a man, about my age, but much better kept. Immaculate dress shirt, expensive watch, perfectly styled hair. He clearly had money. When she spotted me standing there, her smile died in an instant. Her face went pale. She froze. The man looked over at me, completely unfazed. In fact, he kept smiling, but now it was the smile of someone who knew exactly what was happening. I crossed the street. Rebecca took a deep breath. Honey, what a surprise. I got off work early, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Thought I'd take you to dinner. Oh, this is Dr. Marcello, my boss, the owner of the clinic. He extended his hand. I shook it, firmly, but his eyes were full of a quiet mockery, an arrogance disguised as politeness. He was the kind of man who didn't need to say a word to make you feel small. We went out to dinner as I'd planned. A simple restaurant, good food. Rebecca kept saying how much she loved the surprise, but halfway through the meal, she let it slip. Next time, love, just let me know you're coming, okay? I fell silent. It wasn't what she said. It was why she said it. I was married to a woman who was uncomfortable with my presence. After that night, I couldn't sleep the same. Rebecca carried on with her routine. Work, phone, whispered messages on WhatsApp. I tried to pretend I didn't see it, but inside, the doubt was a splinter lodged in my chest. It wasn't just jealousy. I'm not that kind of man. I know when a woman is different. She avoided my touch. She chose soap operas over our evening prayers. She called me dramatic whenever I tried to talk to her. One night, I rolled over and saw the glow of her phone in the dark. She was smiling. I pretended to be asleep and watched as a notification lit up the screen. The name was Marcello. That's when I decided to see the pastor. Pastor Josiel, a respected man with a firm voice and years behind the pulpit. He received me in his office with a grave expression, as if he already knew what was coming. Pastor, I began, I need to know if I'm going crazy, or if there's something wrong in my marriage. I told him everything. The change in her behavior, the phone, the owner of the clinic. He was quiet for a long time. Then he looked at me with an expression that was part pity, part reprimand. Elias, he said, the devil knows where to attack. And when a man begins to suspect his wife without proof, it is because he has already opened a breach in his own spirit. I wasn't expecting that. I sat in silence. Do you know what you must do? He continued. You must fast for her, intercede for her, be her spiritual covering. You are the priest of this house. God will restore it. I walked out of there with a knot in my throat. I had gone seeking guidance. I left carrying a burden. Meanwhile, she slept beside me every night, as if nothing was wrong. And the worst part was, maybe nothing was. But by then, it was too late. I no longer trusted her. Some things, once you see them, you can't unsee. It was a Tuesday. A light rain was falling. Work was called off early because of the weather, and we were paid our day's wage before noon. I could have gone home, taken a rest, but something pulled me in a different direction. I parked my car a few blocks away from the clinic where Rebecca worked. I cut the engine, cracked the window, and I just sat there, watching. Her shift ended at 7, but at 10 past 6, she slipped out, not through the front door, but a side entrance. As she adjusted her purse on her shoulder, a black car pulled up slowly and stopped right in front of her. It was Marcello, her boss. Rebecca got into the car as if she'd been expecting him all along. No looking around, no hesitation. I didn't honk. I didn't follow too closely. I just turned my car around and trailed them from a distance. 10 minutes later, I parked near our house. I stayed in the car, waiting. About 15 minutes passed before the black car turned onto our block. Marcelo stopped just before the entrance to our street. Rebecca got out quickly, clutching her purse, her eyes darting around. She disappeared through our gate. I waited a few more minutes before I got out. When I walked inside, the house was silent. No sign of her in the living room or the kitchen. Then I heard the shower running. On impulse, I went to the laundry hamper. It was empty. I opened the lid of the washing machine. Inside, a single set of clothes. Her clothes, soaking wet, freshly washed. The clothes she hadn't been wearing when she left for work that morning. There, in that spinning drum, my world was spinning too. It was the confirmation I already knew was coming. I waited for her to get out of the shower. She came out wrapped in a towel, surprised to see me standing there. "Honey, you're home early." "The rain," I said. "They sent us home." "Oh, I see. I was just washing some clothes that got dirty at the clinic." "How was work?" "Tiring. Not many patients today." "And the trip home? You didn't get soaked walking to the bus stop in this rain?" She hesitated. "I was lucky. The rain stopped just in time." "Rebecca," I said, my voice flat, "I saw you getting out of Marcelo's car." She froze. She tried to look calm. "He just gave me a ride because of the rain." "Then why didn't you tell me that?" She had no answer. She looked at me like a cornered animal, wanting to run, but with nowhere to go. And in that moment, I understood. The lie wasn't just in what she said. It was in everything she had hidden. Rebecca went into the bedroom without another word. A few minutes later, dressed, she called for me in a low voice. I walked in slowly. She started to cry. Not a loud, dramatic cry, but a heavy, restrained sob, the kind that escapes against your will. I I don't know what's happening to me," she whispered. "I'm so far from myself. I'm so far from God." "Did you cheat on me?" I asked, my voice cold and sharp. She hesitated, her eyes fixed on the floor. "I didn't want to, Elias. I swear I didn't want to." "I didn't ask what you wanted. I asked what you did." It took her a long moment. "Forgive me." The words hollowed me out. "Was it just one time?" I I don't even know how to answer that." Silence. She sat on the edge of the bed, her shoulders trembling. "Marcelo, he comes from a different religion. He's into all this stuff with energy, nature spirits. I was around it all the time. I drifted away from the word. I became weak. I listened without a word. It gets inside your head, Elias. You know that when you turn away from God, the enemy takes advantage. I was never like this. You know I'm not this woman." "But you were," I said. "I need to find myself again. I need God's presence back in my life. And what do you expect from me now?" She knelt on the floor and took my hands. "Help me get back up. Take me to the pastor. Let's fix this before God." I felt nothing but a gaping hole in my stomach, but I nodded. Not for her, for me. "Tomorrow," I said. "We'll go tomorrow." The next day, the rain had stopped, but inside me, the storm was still raging. Rebecca got ready for church as if nothing had happened. A clean face, Bible in her hand, the perfect posture of a repentant woman, a posture that only a skilled liar can master. We drove in silence. Pastor Josiel saw us in his office, just as he did with all the couples who needed spiritual alignment. He greeted us with a serene smile, as if he knew what was coming. Tell me, Elias, what is going on? Rebecca has something to confess. She lowered her head and began to cry again, as if she'd rehearsed the scene in a mirror. Pastor, I have fallen. I got involved with my boss. I strayed from God's presence, but I repent. I am not this person. Josiel took a deep breath, folded his hands on the desk, and looked at me. Elias, did you hear her? She fell, but she is broken. She is seeking restoration. I said nothing. I just stared at him. Do you really think this is just a fall, Pastor? We are all susceptible, my brother. The important thing is to recognize the sin and return. The Bible says a righteous man falls 7 times. But she lied repeatedly. She planned it. She hid it. And you, he said, his voice turning sharp, as the priest of your home, did you not notice your wife's spiritual distance? His words hit me like stones. That was it. I wasn't the victim here. I was being treated as a co-conspirator in her fall. Elias, forgiveness is a decision. You have the maturity for this, and your marriage can emerge from this battle even stronger. And where does justice fit into this, Pastor? Justice is for God. Forgiveness is for you. I was silent. Beside me, Rebecca wore a pained expression, as if in agony. We left his office with a mission. Pray together every day, renew our covenant, and rediscover our purpose. I didn't want any of it, but I agreed. Not for her, not for the pastor, but because, at that moment, I hadn't yet learned that doing the right thing alone can't save a marriage where only one person is willing to be honest. After our talk with the pastor, Rebecca did something that surprised me. She quit her job at the clinic. She said she wanted no more contact with Marcelo, that she needed to cleanse herself from what she called a contaminated environment. She stayed home for a while. She took care of the house, she made lunch. She started attending more church services. She even gave a public apology at a closed meeting with the women's ministry. On the outside, she seemed like a new person. I remained cautious. Not because I'm a suspicious man by nature, but because I had learned, in the hardest way possible, that the devil can wear a mask of repentance too. It was during this time that I met Jonatas, my new next-door neighbor. We struck up a conversation about a fence repair and never really stopped talking. He'd been a member of another church, but left over disagreements with the leadership. He wasn't bitter about it. He was a straight shooter, a down-to-earth guy who could talk about faith without putting on a show. With him, I could speak freely, without having to pretend to be the perfect man of God. Did you forgive her because you wanted to, or because you were pushed into it? He asked me one day. Because I thought it was the right thing to do, I said. And do you still think that? I didn't answer. A few months later, Rebecca found a new job as a receptionist at a law firm downtown. She was transparent about the whole process, showing me the application, telling me about the interview. She wanted me to be part of every detail. She seemed committed. And to be fair, for the first few months, she was a model wife. She kept her hours, sent me sweet messages during the day. She seemed lighter. But over time, the old patterns began to return. The phone was never out of her hand. Messages would come in at night, on weekends, even during the church service. It's work, she'd say. The same argument as before, the same excuses. But this time, I wasn't going to be blind. I told Jonatas about it. He listened quietly, sipping his coffee in his backyard. When I was done, he set his cup down on the table. The difference between a man who loves and a man who respects himself, he said, is the moment he stops letting himself be played for a fool. That sentence echoed in my head because deep down, I knew he was right. I knew that my moment was coming. That Tuesday, a strange feeling settled in my chest in the middle of the afternoon. It wasn't pain, it was a warning. A canceled delivery meant I left the construction site early, so I drove straight to the office where Rebecca worked. The clock read 4:15. She wasn't supposed to get off until 7. At least, that's what she always told me. But just a little while after I arrived, I saw her slip out a side door. She hadn't changed clothes. She didn't seem to be in a hurry, but she was staring at her phone as if following instructions. Less than 2 minutes later, a car pulled up, a silver SUV. It was the same man I'd seen her talking to in the reception area the other day. She got into the front seat, didn't even glance back. I followed, from a distance, discreetly. 20 minutes later, the car turned into the gate of a motel. They went in together. The gate closed behind them. I parked a little further down the street. For a few seconds, I just stared at the steering wheel until I felt it, my throat tightening, my breath growing heavy. Shame washed over me, and then I cried. I wept in silence, angry at myself, ashamed for having forgiven her, for taking her back, for believing her when she cried in front of me, swearing she wasn't like that anymore. She was. She was exactly like that. I wiped my face with the sleeve of my shirt, took a deep breath. Then I turned the car around and drove straight to Jonatas's house. Uriah rang the bell, and his wife answered. When she saw me, her expression turned serious. Elias, is everything okay? I couldn't answer. I just shook my head, fighting back another lump in my throat. She turned instantly. Jonatas, come quick! He came running from the kitchen. What is it, brother? Today, I saw what I never wanted to see. She hasn't changed at all. They went to a motel. They both stood there, quiet. No shock, no theatrics. Just the silence of people who understand the weight of what they've just heard. Help me get her out of my life, I said. Jonatas gave my shoulder a firm pat. We'll handle this the right way. We went to my house. We started gathering everything. Clothes, shoes, bags, makeup. As I packed, his wife folded and organized. I'm not leaving anything behind for her to spin a story, she said. We put everything in the trunk of the car. We stood in front of the house. Me, Jonatas, and his wife. 10 minutes later, Rebecca appeared, rounding the corner. She must have been dropped off further down the street, like she'd done before. When she saw the scene, me standing there with the bags behind me, the couple by my side, she froze. Her gaze landed first on Jonatas's wife, who stared back as if she could see right through her soul. Then she looked at me. I was just standing there, eyes swollen, face dry, but standing tall. She started to cry before she even opened her mouth. Honey, you have to listen to me. It's over, Rebecca. She tried to say something else, but there was no room left for lies. I saw you. I saw you going into the motel. She lowered her head. I'm not going to argue, I said. I just want my peace back. You're going back to your parents' house. She glanced at the couple and noticed the phone in the hand of Jonatas's wife. Are you filming this? I asked her to. Why, honey? Why do this? After everything you've done? Yes, it's necessary. She stopped, defeated. She got in the car. I drove to her parents' house in silence. Jonatas and his wife followed in their car, right behind us. When we got there, I parked out front. Jonatas got out and started helping me with the bags, without a word. Rebecca just stood by the car, silent, her eyes red. Jonatas's wife rang the doorbell. Rebecca's mother answered, confused. Without raising her voice, but firmly, she explained why we were there. The woman froze. She began to cry. The father came out, grabbed 2 bags without asking a single question, and took them inside. Before going back in, he looked at me with sorrow in his eyes. I just nodded. It was her mother who came to me. She hugged me tightly and said through her tears, I'm so sorry, my son. You are a good man. You didn't deserve any of this. I thanked her, silently. I got back in my car. I drove away slowly. My heart ached, but it was free. For the first time in a long time, I was leaving behind what was never truly mine. After I left Rebecca at her parents' house, I didn't try to find out anything more. But news has a way of traveling. I heard that in the following days, she tried to flip the story, said I was cold, that I didn't pay her enough attention. Her story kept getting tangled. But it only took a few conversations for the truth to start surfacing. People who had seen her getting rides in different cars. Neighbors commenting that she always got out before the gate, trying to be discreet. There was no scandal, just whispers, the kind of judgment that doesn't shout, but weighs you down. In time, she couldn't even maintain her story at church anymore. People looked at her differently. She was no longer the woman of faith. She was the one who tried to lie too much, and it didn't stick. She eventually left, said she needed a fresh start, but the truth is, she no longer had a stage to play her part. I changed churches too, not out of shame, but because I realized that true faith isn't about proving yourself at the altar while your soul is bleeding on the inside. I found a smaller, simpler, more human community where no one pressured me to reconcile or pray for restoration. There, I just breathed. I worked. I talked with honest people. Jonatas and his wife stayed close. A true friendship, without pressure, without pretense. Over time, I started to heal. I didn't get on any apps. I didn't try to heal my wounds in someone else's arms. I just let time do what it does. Clean away what wasn't mine and give me back what was rightfully mine. Peace. Today, I'm still the same simple man, but now I'm not afraid to be alone. Because worse than loneliness is having company that makes you feel small. And that, thank God, is in the past. And so ends the story of Elias, a simple man with a clean heart who believed, who forgave, and who was betrayed more than once. But unlike what many might have expected, Elias didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't lose himself. He simply put a dignified end to it all. Rebecca tried to rewrite the facts, to shift the blame onto his shoulders. But time has a silent way of revealing the truth. Today, She lives far away, carrying the weight of everything she lost. And Elias? Elias walks with his head held high, without rush, without bitterness, with the peace that only comes to those who close a door with firmness. And now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever been through something similar? Do you know someone who has? Tell us in the comments. Your story might help more people than you can imagine. If this story touched you, leave a like and subscribe to Echoes of Temptation. And turn on notifications so you don't miss our next stories. Because here, the truth hurts, but it sets you free. Until next time.